The only 4 things that I believe you need to be able to generate 30 plus leads in your health coaching business so that you can never again say that I don't have enough leads or I don't know how to go and get leads. You will have all of the strategies and the things that you need.
Welcome to Swift Coaches Academy, a podcast dedicated to bringing health and wellness professionals the uncensored truth behind what it really takes to succeed in the health industry with me, your host, Zenia Wood. As an accredited exercise physiologist and business owner for almost a decade, I'm on a mission to transform the lives of ambitious health professionals like you who want more and are ready to take action to create incredible impact in your careers and unlock financial freedom in your business. So join me as I speak candidly with industry leaders about the struggles and successes from within the trenches through thought-provoking conversations.
Hello. I'm going to start with a bit of a life update today, or what's going on in my world. Probably the biggest piece of exciting news is I have hired a new business coach. So I had one for the first 4 years, and he was epic. He was awesome and really, really helpful when I was in the trenches with my exercise physiology business. Now that I also do this business mentoring podcast, it's all online stuff, right? Like our virtual assistants, our outsourcing the VAs, and the exercise education, all of that primarily is done online. And so I really love having a business coach who can see bigger picture and can do more general coaching in a sense. And I have someone for that. But then I also love being able to see someone who is very close to or in the same lane as me. And that is who these new people are. And so I find that really, really helpful, especially when you're starting out. I think the best piece of advice I can give anyone who is thinking about business mentoring, if you are early days, it's going to make the most sense to, I believe, work with a mentor who is in your industry, because they will know the tricks of the trades, the ins and the outs of what you are doing. Then when you scale, you get to new levels, new heights, you explore different options. I think then you also are a better and more experienced or skilled business owner yourself. Then you can sort of take from, I guess, more broad scoping business coaches, and you can see more concepts and ideas and you can implement them into your business. But I think when you're day one, or the first couple of years even, or if you've never had a business coach before, I definitely recommend finding someone who is in the same lane as you, who is a few steps ahead, who can help you with where you're at right now in your industry. So that's what I have done. And she is a business coach and does group programs and things like that as well, which is incorporated in exactly what I do. Also online, and does some retreats and things like that, which I think are cool things that could be added for me as well. So seeing how she's running it, being a part of that, and really immersing myself in that, and trying to be an A-grade student, but we are day 3. So early days with that. Cool. To today's topic, we are going to be talking about the only 4 things that I believe you need to be able to generate 30 plus leads in your health coaching business today. Now, this is something that I have been doing with our students for ages, in terms of we have a 30 lead gen strategy, little template PDF that we give out, and we're these are all the ways that you can do it. But I know that that's not the only thing that holds people back. It's cool, now I know some ways. What do I do? Who do I speak to? How do I speak to them? All these sorts of questions and things come up. So I'm going to go through those things today and give you everything you need to go and generate 30 plus leads in your business today, so that you can never again say that I don't have enough leads or I don't know how to go and get leads. You will have all of the strategies and the things that you need. So first couple of things to note with this is that I've definitely had some students before who were oh, I can only get 20, or I can only do this. And I'm you can get what you put your mind to. And so I remember specifically one of my business students a couple of years back now, she was oh, I think I could get maybe 20. And I was Lauren, you can absolutely get 50. What do you mean? And then 3 days later, she sent me a message with a screenshot of 50 members in her group. And I was see, Absolutely. Like if you limit yourself to a certain number, then you will only rise to the level of that number. So I love putting stretch goals in place for people because I think it helps us get creative and think outside the box. Similar questions to like, if you had to make $1 million in your business this year, what would you do differently, right? And if you think about that and then you go, well, how could I do some of those things now? So opening those eyes to those questions and those possibilities so that instead of going, oh, I'll just do a couple leads today. What if we could do 30? What if we could do 50? What if we could do 100 leads in the next day, right? Like how much closer towards your goals would you be? Probably very, very close because my experience is that health professionals are pretty good once they get in a room with people and they're going through their process and they're in their jam and their groove and they know how to get people working with them. And sales for longer term periods, I think is a different thing, but getting someone in front of you to say yes to you one time, in my experience, majority of health professionals are probably okay with that and are more struggling with getting leads. So we're going to talk about that today. First thing, I will caveat this with a couple of things. So when you have clarity and direction, the only thing that's in your way is creating those actionable steps to get there. And then it just becomes a numbers game. And so what I mean by this is because I see so many coaches who are like, I'm overwhelmed. And to me, overwhelm is so many options, but a lack of clarity on which option or which direction is for them. So if you're feeling a little bit overwhelmed, then I would encourage you to have a think about maybe trying to find a little bit more clarity on the direction or the things that you actually need to do to move you forward. And I've spoken about this before in other podcasts, but if you are not yet at full capacity as a coach, then your sole goal outside of delivering an incredible service for your current clients is to bring in new leads. And so if you're not spending every other hour when you're not face-to-face with clients, not fulfilling what their services are with generating leads, then it's not important, right? None of the getting yourself a website or putting stuff on social media. And yes, those things can be helpful along the way, but we need to make sure we have clarity and direction first. And then we just break it into actionable steps and then we take action, okay? A couple other things to note that lead generation and sales is part of your job. If you are a subcontractor or a sole trader or a business owner who, someone else isn't doing the sales for them, you are doing the sales, that is part of your job. So is lead generation, right? We can't just be the coach who sits back on our heels, waits for people to just magically pop in front of us and say, hey, I want coaching. We have to go out there, market ourselves, and get that. And I get that we didn't get into business to be marketing manager or to be sales officer or to be the lead generator, right? But unfortunately, we wear all those hats as the business owner. And actually, I'm going to change that, fortunately, because we actually get to do all those things and learn all of these new skills that had we just been a coach, had we worked as an employee, we wouldn't have to go and learn all these different skills. And these become very, very impactful and highly leverageable services or skills that we have with us for life. So I love the fact that we get to do so many different things as a business owner. And yes, coaching is our primary thing that we love the most. And we can also learn how to message more effectively and market better and sell better. Because really, when you're selling someone on which exercise to do or which meal to eat, that's still sales. It's just not a transfer of dollars in that moment, but you are selling them on the benefits of whatever they are doing, okay? I'm also going to caveat this with it takes time and or money to do, right? So many people are like, I don't have time. Well, you've got to pick one, right? If you don't have time and you don't have money, maybe you should go work for someone else. Otherwise, we need to create one or the other to be able to help make this work. So this is not I'm going to sit on my heels, click a button, maybe some magic Facebook ad pops up and we're just going to have leads flood in. No, this is going to take effort. Just like most things in business. So I'm not here for the quick fixes. I'm not here to, Band-Aid fix people's problems or tell them that everything's gonna go fine and dandy and be beautiful the whole time. I feel like that would be doing you a disservice. It is gonna take effort. It is gonna take time. and potentially money. It does not have to take money. And I would recommend, if you are early on in your business, that you take time rather than money to do these things. Okay. Like I said before, people aren't just going to magically appear in front of you or knock down your door and be like, I need your services, if they don't know who you are, what you do. They're not just going to find your corner of the internet on social media, right? You have to do things to get that in front of them. Cool. Now to the 4 things that you need to generate these leads. The first thing that you need, and I spoke a little bit about this last episode, is who to speak to. So you need to know your ideal client, your avatar client. You need to know exactly who that person is, because if you're just going up to some random person and being like, hey, do you need coaching? And maybe they've already got a coach, or maybe, you do in-person coaching and they don't actually live in the location that they can come to you regularly enough, whatever it is, you need to know who your ideal person is. So that includes things like their age, their sex, their potentially their sport that they play, or the demographics, all the things that we could write down on a piece of paper, like, are they a student, are they an employee, a business owner, whatever. We also want to know their psychographics. So what makes them tick? What are their beliefs? What are their values? This is far more important when we talk about who to speak to. We want to know about them. Who are they at their core? What do they believe in? What do they love? What do they hate? What kind of questions are they probably going to ask you, right? Because if you know that person almost better than they know themselves, they're going to feel safe and confident that you are also going to be the person for them to help them break through their cycle, or, change their life, or help them fix the problem that they have. Okay. Second thing is, you need to know how to find these people. So I have a lot of our students who are like, great, I know who my avatar client is. They are mums. They're like, well, how do I get in front of mums? And so we do this brainstorming. I'm gonna do this with you now, brainstorming of like, where do mums hang out, right? Like, well, if they have kids, like, are you going to be more specific? Are they kids who are at childcare, so they go to childcare facilities, right? If they're of that age, maybe they go to mothers groups, right? Maybe they go to like a specialist GP clinic, or maybe they go to like a baby doctor to help with whatever's going on in their developmental stage, right? Those are places that you will find 100% of your market. And that is what we're ideally looking for, but we will find them at other places too, right? Like, mums and other people will also go and get their hair cut at a hairdresser. Mums and other people will also go to the local coffee shop. Mums and other people will also go to the mums group in your city's Facebook page, right? So this can be online and in person, as I just mentioned, in terms of like the Facebook group, or what other places are they hanging out, not just in person, but online. And then figuring out a list of where they're hanging out, where 100% of the people there will be your target market. So at childcares, maybe not 100%, because some of them might be dads, right? But let's say 90% of people who pick up kids from childcare at some point or on the system may be a mum, okay? And so you're getting really close to a full market of every single person there could be your ideal client. Whereas you go to a coffee shop and there'll be some mums, there'll be some kids, there'll be some teenagers, whoever, and they won't necessarily all be your target market, but that doesn't exclude you from being able to find them in these places, right? Like, they might be following certain people on Instagram and you could find them through that means, okay? There's so many places. And if we just sit and think about where our ideal client is spending their time, their attention, and their money, that is where we want to be. We want to get in front of them in all of those places. Maybe they go to the park, right? Maybe they go to this dentist, whatever. Doesn't really matter where. It's about finding where they are, because then we can get in front of those people, whether that's in an online space, through a message, whether that's through a workshop in person, whether that's through flyers, whether that's through putting your business cards in front of that, like, hair salons on their desk, whatever it is. There's so many different options to get in front of our ideal client. And so that's how we're going to find them. We're going to figure out where they are first, write all those down, and then go and connect with those businesses or connect with the people. There might be like one mum who who is kind of the ringleader, so to speak, in their circle of influence, and they're the one who always put all the high teas on for other mums, or they're kind of like the socialite of the mums. That could be a great place to start because they might have networks with other mums and be able to link you up, or getting them on board could help you to use them as a referral source when you do a good job with them as well. All right. Third thing is that I get after we know who we're speaking to, after we know how to find them, is, Zenia, what do I say? Now, we have exact DM scripts and things like this if this is an online thing for people, but also obviously could be an in-person thing as well. So just gonna like workshop out loud some of these things that you could say. So let's say that you were an exercise professional and you were offering rehab for mums postpartum, right? You could go to the childcare and you could say, hey, I would love to work with and network with you. And this is what I do. I know you guys do this. I'd love to know how I can help you or how I can help your audience. So we want to give before we get. And then we also say, and that could also be in the sense of, maybe they say you can help by referring them when you hear of anyone. And you say, awesome. Then you could go into, I'd also love to give back to the mums of your community. I was wondering if there's like a night where they come in, or if there's a workshop, or if they're, if I could get like an email out to email all the mums on your group list. Or, we could collab on Instagram, or there's so many different ways, right? Like I've just listed about 4 or 5 just then in terms of methods of you being able to get in front of that ideal client if you're going to go through a B2B route. So business to business, meaning you're talking to the owner of that childcare center and you're talking about her clientele that you could share. You're not talking specifically to her or him who owns the childcare. Cool. But what do you say? Let's say that you are in the DMs and you're like, okay, well, what do I say? You want to start with opening with just general conversation in terms of something, instead of like pitching this big long thing and being like, I do this and this is me and this is what I can give you and what do you think about it? That's when it feels a bit like, okay, I'm doing my own thing on Instagram. I wasn't here to be sold to, and it does feel like selling when someone doesn't want to yet be sold to. So it's just opening a general friendly conversation in terms of, let's say somebody adds you or follows you on Instagram. You could just say, hey, how did you find out about my page? Or what what attracted you to my page? Or potentially it could be like, hey, so you started following us. I've got this free guide for mums postpartum to help with getting back to their pre-baby strength, whatever it is. Did you want it? So giving something of value or just opening a general conversation is definitely the way to start with any of those, I guess, DM scripts, I guess you could call them, is be a human, be personable, be interested. If they engage back with you, then speak to them like it's a friend, as opposed to moving on to your objective. You need to give value first, and that definitely includes listening and responding accordingly, which hopefully feels like common sense. So in terms of what to say, then it's like, hey, this is this free thing that I have, or I thought you might be interested, or do you know anyone who is a mum who is looking for X, right? The reason that saying, do you know anyone, as opposed to do you specifically, is that it feels less like a sell and more like, hey, I'm asking if you know anyone because I have this thing, I have this offer, it's free or it's discounted, or I'm just trying to get more education or value out into my audience. Do you know anyone who could use this? And if they feel like that they could use it, they'll say, oh, well, what, like me, I think I could use that. And then you can say, great, then you want to get contact details. So what's your email? I'll send it over straight away, right? And that can open up the conversation, okay? Another thing that you could say in terms of that DM is when you're giving them the do you know anyone, they may say, yeah, I do actually, I know a couple of people. Then I would say, cool, what are their names, or what's their name? And they might say Sarah Black, and you say, awesome. Would you mind linking us in a three-way chat communication, whether that's, you can do that on Instagram, you can do that on Facebook, you could do an email in a three-way communication, but the idea being that the person who's effectively just given you a referral, even if they've not worked with you, if you say, do you know anyone? They say yes. You then want to get them ideally to put you in a three-way conversation and them to say, hey, this is Zenia. She does pregnancy, postpartum exercise. I thought you might be interested. She's awesome. I'll leave you guys to it. Something like that, right? Something super, super simple. The idea behind that is because it gives you credibility because a friend referred them. Even if they haven't, even if they don't say she's awesome and they don't know anything about it, they could just say, you know, like, she mentioned this and I thought of you, right? It still gives you more credibility. Let's say they say, yes, I know someone, and you say, oh, who is it? And they're like, oh, like, it's all right. I'll just see if they're interested. Then I would ask, like, do you mind if I grab their name, or like, who is it? Like, even just getting a first name so that you can check in, and if they just told you it was Sarah, you could say, oh, just seeing if you'd message Sarah and what she said, right? So you can follow that up as well. And the idea being that you're, again, building that rapport, building that communication, even if that's not the exact client that you have, you're then creating that connection with them. Then let's say that they say, oh, well, it's Sarah, and I'll get back to you or whatever. I would say, cool. Maybe you put some scarcity or urgency on it in terms of, I'm only giving this freebie away until Friday. If you could get her to reach out to me before then, that'd be awesome. Or you could even send over some information in like a link or a document or something like that for her to give to Sarah, so that Sarah in this instance could see that and then reach out to you specifically if she is interested. So that would be a couple of examples, depending on which way the conversation goes, of exactly what I would and have said to people in the DMs. Now, just in terms of how this works and numbers, and I guess giving some context with this, it's definitely a numbers game. I know that I mentioned that before. When you have clarity and direction, then you need to have your actionable items, and then it becomes a numbers game. So, for example, I messaged, it was 350 people personally on Instagram who follow me, and reached out to them and said, hey, I'm doing this launch of this course program. Do you know anyone who would be interested in this? From the 350, I got like a reasonable chunk of responses, but then from that, I think I got about 8 leads. So that 8 people said yes, either they're interested or they referred me someone else and said, hey, I think my friend would be interested in this, right? So just to give you a little bit of like an overview of the expectations of this, it's going to take a lot of conversations for this to result in leads or outcomes. But if it does nothing else, that you connect with your audience, they've thought of you, they know what your course is about, and if they know anyone or if they need you specifically, now they've already built a bit of rapport to come back to you sooner, then that, I believe, is an incredible result, right? From this reach out strategy, I ended up getting, I think we got about 15 people enrolled in this course that I was running, and that meant $45,000 for the business. So yes, 350 reach outs is a fair amount, but like I did 50 a day for however many days until I got to 350, and for that, with a course that I've created that's actually fairly automated, I actually spend 1 hour a month with these people and everything else has been streamlined. But for me to get $45,000 as a result of doing that, I would do that every single day of the week and twice on Sunday, right? And even if we scale it right back, let's say that you got like 2 leads a week from reaching out to 100 people every single week. And this could be people who are on your Instagram, your Facebook, your phone book, your email address book, right? Or you could go to in the example of the childcare, you could go to their database. And if you reach out to their 1,000 email database of parents who maybe, like we said, 90% could be mums, then that's you getting your lead out. Sorry, not getting your lead out. That is you getting the word out and communicating with, at this point, thousands of people who could be interested in working with you. So lead generation is going to take some time, effort, and sometimes money, but doesn't have to take money. But it is absolutely something that is doable, right? Let's say that you now have, well, you do now have who to speak to, how to find them, exactly what to say, and you're still sitting here being like, fuck. What if they see my message and they leave me on red? Or like, what if they say they don't want it? Or what if I get rejected? Or all these different like fears, doubts, insecurities can come up. And this is totally normal. I just wanted to, I guess, mention that because I think that oftentimes we feel like it's bad or we shouldn't be feeling like that. And I hate the word should because I think it should be removed from our vocabulary. I don't think we should have shoulds. There are things that we get to do, things we want to do, things we don't want to do, right? So if these things are coming up for you, if you're feeling like, okay, I do have all the information now, but I still feel a little bit nervous, or I still just, what if someone rejects me, says no, leaves me on scene, okay? Some of the most common ones that we've had with our students. This is where we need to understand why we're doing this and come back to that. I had a student recently and I said to her, I was like, okay, so what if they do? And she was like, oh, well, I don't know if I'd really want to do it. And I said, okay, but who are you doing this for? And we dove into her ideal client, how big of a problem it was that they weren't getting the support that they needed, how much she knew she could help these people, and how she was letting her own fears, doubts, and insecurities get in the way of helping more of those people. And so I said to her, I was like, well, do you think that if you got to help one more person, would it be worth 10 people rejecting you and saying no, or leaving you on red? Right? These are random people potentially, or like people who are not close friends and family, who you are just asking, hey, do you know anyone? Or would you like to have some more information? Or here's a freebie. Would you still do it if 10 people said no, or rejected you, or said something like, oh, it's so stupid, or why would you do that, if it meant you got to change one person's life? And I think that that is such an important thing, because I believe and I hope most of us would go, well, yeah, the one person's life who I get to change, who I actually care about, who is someone who's going to work with me, versus 10 random people on the internet who I barely even know, if at all, who have an opinion about me. We can't let that get in the way of us helping transform more people's lives. And I think that that is such a huge thing that holds us back. And when I've seen this happen, and it's almost just like day and night when this shifts for the students in our business mentorship program, it is wild. They start like going after things and creating partnerships and talking to anyone and everyone, and it just unlocks you. Because for the longest time, these people had been held back by the opinions of people who don't matter. The opinions of people who they don't even know, who probably live in a basement of their parents' house and are still 30 years old, right? Like, you have no idea what is going on in these people's lives. And I just feel like those people who are going to be rude or mean or whatnot, we know that they are always doing worse than us, right? If you are really, really successful and you see someone else doing successful things, the likelihood that you're going to snicker at them when they're doing something to help grow their business or themselves is non-existent. Because I see so many people, when you get to levels of success, like, we just want to bring people up. And that's part of what I want to do here, is help inspire, encourage, and help you take action through actionable, tangible steps. But the missing piece is that if you're not willing to get out of your own way and allow people to say shit about you, because they will, and not care about that. And sure, it may affect us, it may impact us somewhat, yet we cannot let that have us stop from helping transform people's lives. And I think that is the piece that we need to remember when shit gets hard, when we potentially want to give up on our business, when a client gets frustrated at something and wants to leave, when, some random on the internet has a horrible comment. We need to remember that we are changing people's lives with the shit that we do. And maybe we're not always perfect. And maybe we did fuck up with that one client. But we will have helped so many more people by continuing and learning and growing and evolving and putting ourselves out there than if we stay in our shell and we let those naysayers and those people who are pulling us back down to their level impact or dictate what we do with our lives. And I just hope that today that sinks in for you and you go, you know what? I probably need to go back and listen to the start of this episode, because I'm going to write that down and actually go and action on it, right? The actionable step from today is to make sure that you know who you're speaking to, figure out how to find them or where to find them, and then use some of the exact things that I said in terms of what to say, and go start doing it. Because we learn through doing it, we're going to grow, and we're going to evolve, and we're going to get in front of so many more people. So there's been a fair bit today in terms of actionables and in terms of our mindset stuff. And I hope you can see now that it's not just about the strategy and the putting stuff in place. If you haven't yet got yourself into a position where you can confidently go and have these conversations, or even not confidently, even if you're shit scared and you just fucking do it anyway, I think that is really, really empowering, and it will help build your confidence muscle so that you feel more confident each time you do it. Confidence is built through reps. Confidence doesn't just appear, it doesn't happen, and it cannot be present to a great degree before you've ever done it the first time, the second time, the fifth time, the 10th time, the 100th time, right? It comes with thousands of reps, thousands of hours. So it's okay to give yourself grace to be shit at the start and to realize that you said something that was a bit silly or didn't make full sense or it was a bit blabby, whatever. But we learn, and that's okay. So go out there, get some leads, 30 plus today, and report back. I want to hear, I want to see messages coming through my Instagram. So go do that. Go and move swiftly.
I have a tiny favor to ask of you, and that is to just hit that subscribe button if you have not done it yet. If you've made it this far, then I hope that this has been valuable for you and for us to get more incredible guests in front of your earlobes and faces. If you're watching us on YouTube, then please do that now. And if you have any feedback or suggestions for me, or something that was a golden nugget that really stood out to you in this episode, I would absolutely love if you flicked me a message over on Instagram at Zenia Wood Official. Until next episode, and in whatever you do, move swiftly.